Hey guys, welcome back. So in our last video, we talked about cooling system upgrades. Mainly, actually, maybe not upgrade, kind of an upgrade, simplifying things, cleaning things up, making them more reliable. I guess that's an upgrade. Maybe not performance-wise, but in several other ways. So, some of you could probably guess, well, that's not the only thing we're going to do. So the another one we're going to do is the oil system. This actually might be a downgrade of some sorts, but I'll show you what we're thinking. So I primarily drag race this car, and several years ago, I actually did some oil system upgrades. I put like an AccuSump on the car, which is supposed to help with oil pressure, but at the end of the day, I decided it was complexity and weight, and I wasn't really sure how much it was helping, so I took it off. But I did do this guy, the Flying Miata remote oil filter. And frankly, I kind of did it mainly just because it's easier to change the oil. You can just, reach over here and spin the filter off, and it doesn't dump oil everywhere because it's oriented this way instead of sideways. But I do have some concerns. So I don't know if I can get the camera down here, but y'all probably know what this part looks like. Let's see if this works. Oh, there it is. Yeah, there it is. So there's the oil sandwich plate thing. Yeah, there we go. That Flying Miata gives. And it's got, I think those are 8AN hoses that come off of that. Maybe it's all in my head, but I kind of think that might be a little restrictive. It probably isn't. But I don't know, I just don't like it. I think those should be bigger hoses. At least for what I do, or what this is going to be built for. I think they're actually adequate for what I do, but like I said, I got some goals. And I think this might be a little restrictive for what I'm shooting for. So, in the name of simplicity, we're actually going to take this off for now. One of the big reasons we're going to take it off is because of this cooler. This is a Mocal Laminova cooler. You don't see these very often, aftermarket-wise. So from the factory, it actually comes with something like this. Everybody calls it the oil warmer, where they pump coolant through the thing that your oil filter screws on, and it's supposed to cool the oil or warm it up or whatever. Well, this is like that on steroids. This thing's, humongous. The entire cooling system from the radiator, all that flow is available. And so the result is that as far as oil cooling goes, this system is phenomenal. My oil temps are about 10 degrees above coolant, no matter what. Because this cooler is just, it's a huge heat exchanger. But as you can see, the downside is it's right up against my intake manifold. Right there. It's running into my AC hoses over here. And it makes running this coolant pipe stuff, it's kind of ugly. And, on top of that, these oil hoses are kind of in the way, and taking up space. Same thing back here, this big hose. I really don't like that one poking there. This is kind of cool because that catches the turbo. It's kind of convenient. But anyway, you can see some of the downsides. And then my dipstick just happens to be right over here too. So we're going to take all of this off. We're going to go back to, this is probably, some might consider this a downgrade, but we're just going to go back to the stock. We're going to put the filter screwed on the block. Downside is it's going to spill oil when I change the oil. On the plus side, we have cleaned up some of the stuff under the car, so it's easier to get to the filter now. But, yeah, for now, we're just going to do that. In the future, I may change this and come up with something better, but for now, this stuff's going to come off. I'll probably sell this oil relocation thing. I'm sure that's worth something. The cooler, I'll probably hang on to that. But, yeah, so here's the thing. I don't think we actually need an oil cooler for what I'm doing, or for the main thing. I mostly drag race. So you probably don't really need an oil cooler for drag racing all that much. It'd be kind of nice because if you just beat the crap out of the car, I bet the oil does get pretty hot, not getting cooled off very well. So we'll probably do something down the road, just something that's different than this, something cleaner, simpler, something. I don't know. This oil cooler is the biggest one I could find, and it's clearly overkill. So even though I love overkill, this is packaging problems levels of overkill. So if we switch down the road, we'll probably put something that addresses my oil pressure drop concerns or oil flow restriction concerns and packages better. And maybe I could put the weight lower in the car because this is pretty high up on the engine. You can see there's the valve cover and it's just below the valve cover. So anyway, we're going to change all that. So by the time we're done, let's see if we can, there's another part down here that somewhere in here, there it is. Let's try to zoom in. This is where the oil comes from. So there's a pressure sensor that doesn't work. Then there's the pressure switch, which runs the factory gauge. And then right below that, there's a cap. Well, it's an AN fitting with a cap on it. That cap used to be a hose hook to that fed the rear turbo. So that sensor's broke. I'm going to take it off and probably plug that hole for now. But that bottom one, or something, we're going to hook a hose to that, and that's going to be our turbo feed. So we'll figure that out. But that's where we're going to get oil for the turbo. That's just your traditionally where you do it anyway. So we'll do that. And we'll find some clean way to run it. But yeah, some of the stuff we're doing with the oil system. This you can see this hose. We're going to probably change that. It kind of, it doesn't look great right now, but at one time this kind of did look good. But this hose is like too long, and it's running into this stuff, and it's right next to where this goes, which I'm going to change this down the road. These things, you can see they get crooked from loosening and tightening them, so that kind of, even though it works, it's kind of, I don't like it. And you're putting an oil hose next to exhaust. That's probably not, the best. So anyway, this shit's getting changed. I'm not sure about this part, but we're going to change all that. I don't know when we're going to do the drain for the turbo. I want to change this too. As you can see, I mean, this doesn't leak, but it's a hose clamp, and I'm trying to get away from hose clamps. And that hose, it actually goes to the front of the oil pan, which it kind of works, but we'll see. I kind of want to change that too. I'm really just afraid of how much work it would be, because one of those fittings goes into the oil pan. I'm not sure. We'll just have to look at it. I don't know what I'd have to do to change that. If it's feasible, then I may just swap that too. I'd like to put a 12 AN hose from the turbo to the oil pan. I used to actually have that years ago. It's kind of funny. I kind of went backwards. But anyway, that's these are some of the upgrades we're going to do for the oil system. And, let's see. Yeah, we're going to do this immediately. We got like oil pump upgrades and stuff. That'll be on the next motor. But this is just kind of like everything else that, supporting stuff. Let's see. I kind of feel like I forgot something, but I can't. Oh yeah, there was one more thing. One thing we're going to look at, we have new cams for this motor. We actually have two sets of cams. One set are apparently defective. So don't buy cams from these guys. They had a hard time with this. But these cams took like 6 months to receive, and they were manufactured wrong. Now I got to send them back. So that sucks. But I have some cams from Delta Cams. Now these guys took longer than they said, but they were way faster than the other guys. And I got these cams, and they're manufactured correctly as far as I know. So those will be going in the car soon. And one of my concerns is with the VVT. I don't think I'm going to need VVT for that, so I'm wondering, could I lock out the cam? I don't know. I got to look into it, but it's something. I got a guy, a gentleman named Rick, I believe. He's going to send me a cam gear, like a broken VVT one. And I want to see what it would take to like lock them out and put that on the car, and then just have, time the cams the way you want them, lock it out, and then not have to worry about tuning that, and no more cam rattling. This thing, sometimes I've had rattles, and a lot of that's the control side, but still, one less thing to do, simplify, don't have to mess with VVT anymore, so we'll see. Plus these cams, the factory cams are obviously ground for that, but these aftermarket ones, I don't think they are, so they're probably more designed to be fixed anyway. So yeah, that's kind of, let's see. Oh yeah, a little bit, okay, there's a couple more. We got a couple more minutes. One other thing we're going to do, we actually talked about this, I forgot. I knew there was something else that was important. This guy. So this is bigger than the factory breather. You can see my finger next to this. That's actually a pretty damn big hole. This thing had a little baby hose from the factory. And we put this in here a while back to help improve the airflow. When you're running a lot of boost, you got a lot of crankcase pressure builds up. You need to be able to get it out of the motor. So we made this, and we just ran a big fat hose and just dumped it under the car. That was it. Pretty simple. Over here we had the PCV hooked up, where the just like it normally is. But we ran it through a catch can, like kind of a ghetto one. But it worked, but again, ghetto. Anyway, we're going to change all of this too, both for function and aesthetics. So inside the valve cover, I did some baffling, and I basically took the factory baffling and kind of improved, or changed it, hopefully improved it, and then put this on here. we're going to take all of this off and we're going to weld a 12AN bung right on the valve cover. Possibly weld 2 of them. We got to pull the valve cover and kind of look at what we did and look at how it's designed and evaluate, is putting 2 at all necessary or is 1 plenty. But anyway, 1 or 2 big fat AN bungs, and then we'll run a big hose and they'll go somewhere. And somewhere probably in this vicinity, I'm not sure where, maybe it's back there. Somewhere in this region, kind of close, we're going to put a big, what's it called? It's like a breather can or something. Similar to a catch can, but I think it's kind of just like an empty tank with a filter on it. But we're going to buy one of those. And that way, if it's like pukes or something, it won't just blow on the ground. It'll go into a can. So that'll be an improvement. But, you know, the flow area will be much bigger. This thing is probably less than half of an inch. That's probably a 1/2 inch OD tube. So that's probably like a 7/16 ID. And we're going to go to 12AN, so that'll be 3/4 ID. So a lot more flow area. And then, you know, keep them short and all that. And again, clean it up, you know. That thing had a hose clamp on it too, so it's 1 less hose clamp on my motor. And then on the PCV side, we're still working on the design of some of this. So there's a big intake here. I got to see how much room we have. But what I want to do is get rid of this grommet, because these can leak, and weld on an AN bung and hook a hose to that. Now, I think I'm going to keep PCV on this car. It really doesn't... You know, I have this weird stance with emissions equipment. I know everybody just gets rid of it, but, you know, if it doesn't hurt your horsepower, I mean, it adds weight. I know that sucks, but if it doesn't hurt the horsepower, I kind of just assume leave it. So for PCV, Moroso makes a pretty good catch can. I'm probably just going to buy that or something similar, and then run, you know, AN hose from here. Let's see, I guess you need a valve in there. So I'd have to hook a valve up. And I figured out, you know, basically come off of there, a valve into a catch can, and then run that to the intake. That way the PCV still works. We'll figure it out. But again, we're just trying to get rid of all these hose clamps and clean things up, you know. Get for the most part, get rid of everything we don't need. Like I said, the emissions stuff, I'm kind of on the fence on that. I kind of want to keep it all, you know. But anyway, that's kind of our plan. So guess y'all take it easy and see y'all next time.